Welcome to When Not Yet Becomes Right Now, the podcast where we dive deep into the moments of transformation, the times when not yet shifts into right now and everything changes. I'm your host, Jen Ginty, and this podcast is all about those pivotal moments in our life journeys. You know the ones, when the hesitation fades, when we take that first step, even if it feels like a leap. It's in these moments that growth and healing begins. Each episode will explore stories of resilience, moments of clarity, and the sparks that ignite real change. From personal experiences to expert insights, we'll uncover how people navigate the complex journey we call life and come out stronger on the other side. Whether you're searching for that spark in your own life or just curious about how change unfolds for others, you're in the right place. We'll discuss the ups and downs, the breakthroughs and setbacks, and how to embrace the right now, even when it feels out of reach. Because sometimes the hardest part of the journey is realizing that the moment you've been waiting for has already arrived. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's get started. Hello, welcome to When Not Yet Becomes Right Now. I'm here today with a special guest, Leslie Urbas, and let me tell you a little about Leslie. She is a registered dietitian and personal trainer with over 15 years of experience, committed to helping women like herself transition from selfless overachievers to empowered individuals who fully embrace their worth. For years, Leslie's not yet meant working within the constraints of others' expectations. She came to realize it was time to shed those limitations and take ownership of her path. Leslie shares the journey of shifting from checking boxes others have created to building a life defined by her own values and goals. Throughout her unique digestive codes approach, Leslie provides practical insights into transforming self-worth, releasing shame and guilt, and truly digesting life with a fresh, confident perspective. Hello, Leslie. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us. My pleasure.
Yeah, so let's jump into things. Tell us your origin story.
Yeah, I really have to say, I'm going to start it in 2021 when I first understood that I was living the life I was explained to by my parents. So it was the first time anybody had said it. I always accredit David Nagel for it in this open door method thing he did back then. It was 5 days. It was fabulous. And I remember him saying something to like get us, to obviously he's a business person. So I'm going to buy something at the end. Right. And I was like, I'm sold. I'm joining this thing. And then at that thing, I was like, I'm sold. I'm joining this next thing, and it totally resonated with me because I was a brand new mom, sort of. I mean, my daughter was born in 2018. My son was born in 2021. He wasn't even a year old when I started to do this work. And I truthfully knew in late 2020, when I was business coaching with somebody, he was my business coach. I said, Sean, I don't think it has to do with more strategy. It's in my brain. And I processed that so much of my expectations were based on others. So I had this life in 2021. I had 2 kids, check the box, need kids. Okay. I was married, check the box, need marriage. I had a good job, which I got rid of. Okay. I worked at the Naval Hospital in Jacksonville, Florida. Good government job. Believe me when I tell you that the entire 2 weeks I was quitting, I was like, but you don't quit a government job, but you don't quit a government job, but you don't quit a government job, right? And truthfully, up until that week, maybe even a little longer, I still had in the background, but you don't quit a government job. So I had this great job, which I sold for running a business, which was acceptable in some forms of being raised because at times, some of the women in my family would transition to being a mom if that was needed. So it was acceptable, but my worth was a little off because I'm supposed to make money and money's supposed to be like, how much money are you making? That's a check in the box. Oh, you've got a good job. Oh, you're healthy. Oh, your weight is a certain way. Oh, you're wearing the right clothes, right? So I'm constantly checking boxes for others. And I'd love to say that as I started to have this awareness, it dropped. But what really dropped was my thought process of the first box, which my parents taught me, get a job and work hard. So I got a job, I worked hard, and get health insurance. Those are the 3 things that I was told at 24. But in my head, from, I want to say 2021, I was like, I want to start a business. I was an entrepreneur at heart, and I learned through my human design. I truthfully am. But I wanted to do this thing. I wanted to have this thing. And then but I was breaking boxes by doing this, right? And it wasn't really probably until late 2023 in this very office that I was going to the refrigerator and thought to myself, huh, I'm still checking boxes for other people because I'm constantly thinking about what they're thinking about me. So I've got my boxes of all the things I have to check to be this person. But now it's like those people in my life, that I had in the past were there with me, right? So I'm thinking, what are they thinking about the way I'm parenting? What are they thinking about my business? What are they thinking about my brand? What are they thinking about this? What are they thinking about that, right? And I'm like, I haven't even seen or talked to these people in literally like a year and 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a slap in the face of, I am constantly deciding based on this voice in my head that I think is coming from them, but it's only coming from me.
Yeah.
Because I haven't even spoken to them.
Yeah. It resonates. It really resonates with me. I hear you. My mother actually doesn't know that I'm an entrepreneur. She,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
long ago, she has it in her head that if you're not working a 9 to 5, you're not working. You don't have a career. You don't have anything that is outside of being someone's employee.
Wow.
So whenever I
Wow.
would say I wanted to do something, she'd say, don't waste your money on that. That's never going to work type thing. And I get it for her. It's a fear, right? But hearing other people's voices telling you what you should be doing, even though you have this pull to do what you feel is right for you, it's really hard to get over that.
Oh, I mean, completely. Yeah. I mean, there's still times that I have the little flashback of, if I would just go back to be that girl, they would probably accept me. But they wouldn't accept me. They would accept the version of me that I was being to please them. Right.
Mhm.
And so it's hard. Like, I don't want to say it's hard. I hate the word hard because nothing is really hard. It's easy. It's difficult for someone who's aware and aware that I'm willingly choosing to change this. And in my family, one of the boxes that you check is that family is forever. Friends come and go, but family is forever. And a lot of the people I'm discussing here are like cousins and my own sister. And if family is forever and I'm choosing to detach because I feel I can't be accepted in the way, which I don't think is true. I think they can accept me, but because we were all raised the same way, they might still be struggling this with themselves. And they're not unchecking the boxes because I think if they did, they'd be like, oh, hey, Leslie, like we're here together, right? And so I had a coach once tell me that I was so concerned with everyone else joining me on my journey that I wasn't progressing in my own. And I understand that. And I think that really comes back to right where it is now of that moment of I have to leave them. And it's not like for the longest time, I don't know if you've ever seen What Dreams May Come, but in What Dreams May Come, Robin Williams is going down into purgatory to save his wife. I'm not going to go into too much details, but he was instructed, you can go get her. If she is persuaded to follow you, when she follows, you cannot look back to see if she is still there. You have to trust she's following you. If you look back, you can't come back to heaven.
Mhm.
And so it was really interesting. And I always I equated that for the longest time. I felt like I was on this ladder of purgatory where I was like, I cannot leave these people. Family is forever. This is where I need to be. This is what I need to do. This is the things that I need to have. But I'm like, but that picture is so much better. I want to go that way. Like, I know that this is where I need to go. This is where I want to be. I can see up there. But like, what about these people? And it was such a conflict that I didn't even process that in my own head. I was reliving this out every single second of every single day.
Little one learning to navigate their big emotions? Meet My Moody Monster, the pull apart buddy to help kids understand and manage their feelings. With its fun, interactive design, Moody turns tough feelings into teachable moments, giving your child a playful way to express themselves. Whether it's after a rough day or when those big frustrations hit, Moody is there to lend a hand. Perfect for calming down or even just a cuddle. My Moody Monster helps your child communicate their emotions while learning healthy coping skills. Go to mymoodymonster.com to learn about Moody today. Yeah. Yeah, it's such a struggle when you have such a, commitment to family where, there are choices that you make that, like you said, aren't your own because of this pull from family and their own values.
Totally. Yeah, it's almost conflicting. It's almost like you have this moment of, I'm doing something wrong. And I really felt like for the longest time I was punishing my own mother, punishing her because I was making the decision and going against her family is forever, you know?
Yeah.
And then I had to let go of that moment where I had to be like, I'm not punishing her. I'm actually setting her free in different ways. And that was really hard for me to come by. But I processed, I think maybe a month ago. So I really want to say I really started this like in late 2023. Been working on it basically all of 2024. And a couple of months ago, my mom said something to me and I was like, wow, I really am helping her heal, because she would have never said that. And my dad too, he did something very out of character that I was like, wow, you did that? He's like, I sure did. I'm tired of not. And I was like, wow, like I climbed the ladder, which is truly what I did. I let go of the story that I was leaving them and instead going to the story that people use, right? Like, you cannot help a poor person if you are poor. You can only help the poor person if you are rich, right? And like, and going with that in this instant of like, I can't help my family grow if I don't grow. If I stay on the ladder, I'm not helping them and I'm hurting myself, you know? So it was really helpful, I think, to gather that. And I've noticed the shift to help me, stay empowered to keep going,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. when we talked before, you talked about this. I found it fascinating and that could resonate with so many people. The mean girl inside your head. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. And she's kind of who I was expressing of like in that purgatory, right? Because she's sitting here like, how can you do this? How can you leave them there? How can you put that on? How can you put yourself here? Who do you think you are? Like, oh, you said that to your kids. You're a bad mom. Oh, you did that. You're a horrible person. Just today, it was something really kind. It can come in at any phrase. My daughter, we go to school in a country Fruit Loops are not prevalent in, okay? And my daughter's like, oh my gosh, I want to give these Fruit Loops to this little girl in my class. I was like, well, we need to verify with her dad that he's okay with Fruit Loops, right? It's like some parents aren't going to be okay with Fruit Loops, right?
Right.
So I was like, I got to verify that they're okay with Fruit Loops. And he was like, oh yeah, she can have Fruit Loops. It's totally fine. But when we started talking, I was like, yeah, that's just my daughter. She really loves to give. Like, she has reminded me every single second of every single day that she wants to give this little girl Fruit Loops. So I was like, oh, she loves to give and give and give is what I said. And I went, oh, did I say something wrong? Did I make him feel like he wasn't giving? And I'm like, no, I was really just expressing who my daughter is. But that's how deep it goes to look at myself from a horrible angle of like this mean person. Like, I'm hurting somebody by expressing my daughter's true joy, my true joy, who we truly are. Because in some way, shape, or form, when I was little, I was hurting somebody when I was expressing my joy. I was really taught like, if something good happens, something bad happens, wait for the other shoe to drop, all of those things. And so I then became that person like, okay, well, here's the good. Let's just wait for the bad. And I would call it in. I would call it in. And this mean girl was there. Truthfully, I think it's been like maybe 2 or 3 months without thinking of my cousins, unless I bring it up like this. But man, prior to that, it was like, okay, today's a day they're going to be proud of me. And then other times that I was like, oh, they're all bad talking me. They're like, oh, that dumb Leslie girl. Oh, she did this. But that's all me. They weren't saying it. They have no idea. They don't have a video camera in my house, you know? And it's even coming down to, and the next thing I think I have to really work on is how clean my house is. I hate to walk out the door with like a dish in the sink or a bed not made. And there's certain things that like, if somebody comes over to my house, I feel like I have to empty the trash cans to make it look like nobody lives here. Like so crazy. But that's a mean girl in my head. Like somebody should live here. There's 4 of us living inside of there. We have a 4 and a 6-year-old, like not going to go anywhere, you know, but it's there.
Yep.
You know,
it resonates with me in that as well, because I was taught again by my mother. And I'm not saying this in the sense that my mom has always put like negative things in my head, but it's better to look good than to feel good. So,
much. Yes.
So
that goes to my body shame, you know, man. I ran 12 miles a day in my 20s. Every single day from like, I think 20 to 24, I ran 12 miles every day because it was like body had to be there, you know? My self-worth was built on, do you look good? Did you lose weight? How much money do you make? And are you dating somebody? And that was truly it. And that's why those 3 boxes had to be checked at all times, you know? And if it's not checked, like I live in Spain, as we've said, I'm going home to the States. And I've literally had 3 or 4 times where I've had to be like, stop. Those are their boxes. If somebody's like, how is your business doing? You're going to be like, it's thriving, no matter what. If somebody says, how's your weight doing? You're going to be like, still look the same and in the same clothes. You know, if somebody says that, like that shouldn't be a thing, but that seems to be it. And like, oh, how's your marriage doing? How are you guys doing over there? You know, how are you doing in Spain? How's everything going? You know, like, I understand that there's a positive to this, but there is also a time and place of like, you have to know what to say, when to say it, and who to say it to, because you don't want to invite them into a trigger, right? So I'm mentally preparing myself for some of the things to occur as well.
Yeah.
So
was there a moment that came to you and you were like, I have to get rid of these mean girls? How did you step into that process?
I was getting ice from our deep freezer across from me when I was truthfully at that moment of like, how the heck am I doing this when I haven't seen these people in so many years? I don't even think any of them like anything on Facebook. I don't even think they could tell you anything about me at this current moment. I don't even think they could tell you the name of my business. And it got exacerbated when an acquaintance of mine told me this diet plan that she was on. And I got triggered because I'm a dietitian. And I'm like, no one in my immediate family or friends, people that I would say, oh, that's my best friend, or that's my cousin, or whatever, would ever come to me for nutrition advice. And I thought, and why would they? Because they don't resonate who I am as a person.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I was like, oh my God, I am taking all of this personally because of their opinions. And truthfully, whether you do it or whether you don't, you're judged.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Right now, I'm being judged. And I was judged then. When I was filling the boxes, I was still mocked for the shoes. I was still mocked for failed relationships. I was still, you know, just different things. You know, I can't even think of all of them. I know the shoe thing always stands out because I loved these boots and I was mocked for them. And I went down and sat with my mom at a party instead. And I told my stylist that such a long time ago. She's like, you need to buy those boots. I was like, I don't think they sell them anymore. Like, they were definitely a 1990s boot and it has not come back yet. If they do and I still like them as much, I certainly will. But now, yes, I am my own style. I can't tell you how many people will say to me, you know, it's freezing and you're wearing a skirt. I know, I don't really like jeans. I wear them when I'm absolutely super cold. And that is what I do. Okay. But I just don't choose to wear them. Why can't it be accepted? But why do you have to call me out and be like, you never wear pants? You never wear a skirt, right? Why can't I just be me? Right. And so I think it's really taken that. But it was that moment of, I am giving my life away for that, right? That like I'm never going to get it back. So I can sit here and grab my ice, wondering what they're accusing me of next, etc. Or I can get my ice and ask myself, did I do better than my best? Am I bettering myself every single day? Am I getting closer to my goal? Am I in alignment with myself? And if I'm not, where can I get more in alignment with myself? How can I truly be? And it's sometimes having the hard conversation. I sometimes think my husband's like, oh, how many times do we have to have different conversations? Because I want our marriage to be different, And so it's one of those things. When I accepted the journey and accepted to be an entrepreneur and accepted back in 2020 that I knew it was my mind that was really plaguing me, that I was going to do it until really I die. I just couldn't imagine not, every single second of every single day. It's something else. This morning I had something, I was like, oh, got it. I'm in fear and lack. That's what it is. I'm in fear and lack. Got it. Noted. Fear is lack. Lack is feel. Got it. Right. That was David Nagel again that pointed that out to me in just an old listening of something. And I was like, oh my goodness. It is much better to be here. But it is that truthful moment of like deep sadness or acceptance, and then just surrender. Like, okay, I give up. I delegate this to you, God, universe, whoever is listening. What is my next step? Because I don't know anymore. Just give me my next step and I'll go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had that moment, and it was, to me, a spectacular moment.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you keep yourself on that path?
Great question. So when I noticed it in 2023, I actually went down a hole towards money. A good friend of mine, Mary Lou Rodriguez, is like a brain training expert, and she does stuff with money. And she offered a free challenge around the science of getting rich. And I was like, I totally need to do this. I've said I was going to read this book a billion times. I might as well do this because it forces me to do it. It was 30 days. It started in November, like almost a year ago today, to the end of December. And I have listened to that book, a chapter of that book, kid you not, every single day since then. And listening to the Impression of Increase, chapter 14, every single day, for whatever reason. It's like it resonated with me. And I was like, I need this to be the CD in my brain. I've got way too many years of the old CD and I'm ready to form a new one. And it's just kind of escalated from there. I worked with her, kind of worked on some things I wasn't seeing. I worked with another woman who really helped me with, it's a Bruce Lipton thing where you can actually talk to your subconscious brain and rewire almost instantly. It's really cool. I cannot remember the name of it whatsoever, but she uses that technique. So I worked with her. And then I found books that resonated that I've not stopped listening to. Every single day, I'll listen to a chapter here, a chapter there, and really keeping myself, because if not, I'm in my old CD, right? I'm in my old CD until this becomes my new CD. I understand to get it into your subconscious mind. So that's what's running without thinking. You have to get it there. Well, there's two ways to get it, right? A sudden emotional impact, like when my sister died in 2016, my oldest sister, my middle sister is still here. That's a sudden emotional impact, right? That's going to change you and your path for sure. Okay. But if not, if there's no emotional impact, it's repetition, repetition, repetition. Well, I had, 30 something years of the old CD. So I needed to install a new one. So that's really what I made my 38th year about, was installing a new one, regulating my nervous system, filling myself with only people that were really here and on this journey. And it's interesting because living in a foreign country and meeting different people who, you speak the same language with, it's sometimes where it's like, I like this person, but this is going to send the old CD back into play. So I have to let go, even if it means I'm just hanging out with my family every weekend, chilling with our fire in the backyard. That's cool. Our pool. That's why I like to have those things. But it was staying in the work. It's not giving up. It's not, you cannot dabble. You can't put your foot in the shallow end and think we're going to get there, right? It's like jump in head first, totally in there. And then, you're going to come up for water. Okay. You're going to get some breath of fresh air, but submerge yourself in the new and really put it in. And that's really what I have done. And I don't think I could change it again. I've let other people in the past talk me out of it. But I don't I'd have to get really triggered, I guess. And now I think I'm just too aware, and I have too many people around me that are like almost like a network, an army of networkers, that they would be able to find that out about me so quickly. So,
Yeah, it's really interesting with all the people that I've spoken with about their own journeys. Community comes up a lot.
hmm
And it's such an important part of the journey is being around the people who know the same, either it's, for me, it was people who have gone through trauma in the same way that I have and understand it. It's just the community of people who are there to support and who are on the same wavelength of you is so important.
agreed, agreed. You've got to have that extra accountability and people that you can be like, okay, this is what's happening. What am I missing? What did I not hear myself say that I know you picked up on? And please give it to me, right? And I literally voiced that this morning while all my people were sleeping because I live in Spain and the majority of people I talk to are in the US. And it didn't even take 30 minutes. I was like, never mind, I've got it covered. And I voiced every single one of them back. And I was like, so it was this thing. And they were like, oh my God. But I knew when I was listening the first time. And I was like, good. At least I know you're still there to call me out when I'm not getting it, you know? So
Yeah.
it's fabulous. You need that. I don't know that I could do without it. And that's what's interesting because, the family is forever. I really like to truly believe that friends are your chosen family, you know?
Chosen family is so important. I think it
hmm
is for so many different communities that, especially, the queer community where they are not fully accepted, their chosen family is so important. And I like to state that to everyone. You get to choose people who are surrounding you. And the ones that
Agreed.
aren't accepting you and aren't giving you what you need to grow, your given family doesn't necessarily need to be part of that chosen family.
Agreed.
So
100%.
tell me about your digestion codes approach. Does what you learned go into that theory or what you work with?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, the mean girl is there, right? The mean girl is there in the way that you're talking to your body, in the way you're choosing your food, in the way you've dieted in the past. There are different pieces. I really approach it through what I call the mind method. And the first one is mindset, right? Okay, casual word that everybody's using. But to me, it's truly your ancestry type code, which comes from like how you were raised around food with parents, family, friends. Your body image type code, those things that go into that, and your the last one is your diet type code. What diets have you accepted and what rules have you accepted? Because those are all now in your filing cabinet that you're running. They're in your subconscious mind. So that's a big key. So that's your mindset or brain set, as I've heard a coach say before, and I liked it. The second piece is internal. What's really happening on the inside? Okay. And is it actually in alignment with who you are, or is it something that's externally going on? Especially because I hope mostly women with this, we have a lot of intestinal issues, we have a lot of stress issues, autoimmune diseases, which more women are prone to because we actually need more sleep with men than men, right? So we need more sleep than men actually need. We also need to be able to de-stress and lose some of our stress in there and to know that we're eating in alignment. And if we're not, we're going to wind up with these things because we take on, I liked this term that I heard another coach is internal emotional labor, which is when the laundry filter has to be changed. When the filter to the air, the heater needs to be changed. When you have to do laundry because everybody runs out of underwear, right? When the dryer has to be changed and when there needs to be new paper towels and new toilet paper, right? You take on the emotional labor of every single person, including small humans, right? And other people and the world, really, dogs, animals, cats, you name it, right? And so that piece comes into play in the internal. Nutrition is truly 100% to you. All of these things matter. So piece number one and number two, really form your nutrition, right? If you have none of these things and you were raised in a household with all these things and you just have some diet issues and health issues, maybe we've got some other things to talk about. I do tap into a little bit of human design because I think it's important for you to see those aspects and see where you could be out of alignment because you actually are following something somebody else said that you're just taking as gospel. And then last is that it's exclusively made for you, the mind method, mindset, internal nutrition, and exclusive, because it needs to be for you. And not like, here's your macros that I determined based on you, that everybody else with the same height and weight has. It is truly based on you. Okay. If you were raised as clean your plate Carmen and you had to clean your plate, or you were raised with a mother who cycled on and off diets, and 1 week it was plentiful with cupcakes, ho-hos, ding-dongs, and Oreos, and then 3 weeks later there were none to be found and no one was allowed to bring in dessert, that is a piece of you now, because it's in your filing cabinet and that's part of your code. And to release it just takes some steps. And once you process that, you can be so free. And I like to really point out here, it's free of all rules. If you decide, I don't want to drink alcohol, that's great. But if you decide, I want to have a glass of wine every night, that's also okay if it's in alignment with you. If you decide, I want to swear off all sugar, that's fine. But if you decide, I want to have sugar when I want to have sugar and say no when I don't, that's also okay. And I find that a lot of health experts out there are like, I shunned out this, and this because my health is most important. And what I hear is that will put a lot of stress on most women to abide by more rules and laws. Because when we do mess up, because we're more hormonal, we will literally punish ourselves if that's how we were raised. And so all of that comes into play.
Wow. Sounds amazing, actually.
Thanks.
Yeah, it sounds like it's hard for me to put into words because I have my own issues with dieting and, hormones going into menopause, all that kind of stuff. And so we do punish ourselves a lot. And we punish ourselves for things that are not in our control whatsoever. I mean, before I was perimenopausal, I could lose 5 pounds in a month. And now if I lose two, I'm, I'm ahead of the game because of the hormone changes. And I blame myself for no reason. It's my body and it's changing. I'm getting older. And to hear your theory on keeping yourself healthy and in the way that you want to be, it feels very comforting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And I always say with that, like with the hormonal piece, that's really cool because it could be an internal pressure that's actually causing it, that actually doesn't have to do with the hormones. And that's the one unique thing. So like I do talk to people like, I understand hormones are real. I'm not denying any of these things, but this piece of you, it can all be internal, and it can be because women are taught we're supposed to hate our bodies. Love your body. Then you get your period. Oh, it's all downhill from now, right? It's like, then you got to shave and you got to shave every day. I remember my mom teaching me that. Like, if you start shaving now, you have to shave every day. It doesn't, or like as often as you want to. Like, you don't get to stop shaving. Once you shave, you always have to shave. And like, I remember her like putting that in my brain, right? I was like, I don't care. I want to shave, right? And still to this day, I don't care. I don't know why that was such a big thing. But like, we are also drowned in, I have a client who super skinny. And then she turned 30 and she was like, it's like I can't keep the weight off. And we learned her mother told her I could eat whatever I wanted to. And then I turned 30 over and over and over when she was a child. So what'd she do? Hop into that. So if we're taught as a young age as girls, perimenopause is terrible. Menopause is terrible. When you age, you lose your hair, turns colors, you get lines, you get saggy, you gain weight, you can't control your emotions, you sweat like crazy. If that's drowned into us, guess what we're going to do? We're going to follow it.
It makes sense.
There's so many pieces that are in there that you're like, oh, wow. So that could really be why. And I'm not denying each hormone and all the things have all the places, but it's typically that very outside approach of, I don't know that I want to know every single number because that will get me down another rabbit hole of, I shouldn't do that. I can't do that. And now I'm in all these like, oh, and stress. Instead, I want to just know, oh, okay, this is just me traveling down this old pattern in my brain of inner mean girl of this is how it has to be. But I can say, okay, thank you, cancel, 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 and now I choose instead, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Thanks.
So what would you say to someone who just realized that they no longer want to listen to that inner mean girl?
First is surrender. Like, okay, I don't want to listen to you anymore. And then I really often say delegate. Like, delegate. God, universe, whoever you want to call it. What do I do next? And literally just surrender, let it go, delegate. And I can guarantee you some sort of answer will come, whether it's immediate or it takes a few days. If you continue to stay open, and every time it happens, I surrender, I'm delegating this to you, I'm open to the opportunity, you'll hear it. And when you see it or you hear it or you talk to somebody or you're in their presence and you're just like, whatever she has is what I want, and she kind of explains it to you, you're like, okay, I'm sold. I'm going to do it. I want to do whatever it is you're doing because this is my sign. And that's really, to me, what it is. Whether it's a gut response or an emotional response, you'll get it as long as you continue to surrender and ask. I mean, I think mine only took about 30 to 40 minutes for me to be like as clear as I possibly could be once I surrendered and I was open. So,
Oh, that's great.
thanks.
So tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, of course. So you can find me on social media anywhere as Leslie Urbas. Technically on Facebook, I'm Leslie Fiala Urbas, but that will be changing shortly. So Leslie Urbas anywhere, or if you Google digestion codes, I am in the process of trademarking it. So you will find me through digestion codes. So
that's great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. You had so much great knowledge to share, and I truly appreciate it.
Oh, great. I appreciate you for having me.
Leslie's story is a masterclass in taking control of our own inner voices. I think it's much more common that the inner voices we listen to were or are significant people who help to define the ideas we have of ourselves and for ourselves, whether it be positively or negatively. And at some point, we need to recognize that those voices and inner critics aren't really a part of us. We can create a new voice, our voice, that understands our values and morals, that understands our self-esteem and how to create a more positive feeling about ourselves. I want to thank Leslie for inviting us to see ourselves outside of others and helping us to realize we get to decide how we feel about ourselves and our lives. And I want to thank her for reminding us that we get to choose the community we want to surround ourselves with. We can create our own chosen family as well as our given family. And I find Leslie's philosophy on finding the appropriate way of eating based on codes, including biological as well as environmental, to be fascinating. You can find more about Leslie's work in our show notes. Thanks for listening.